We're now going to start to build up our track with our micro rings by installing them in one straight long track of rings, back to back with no gaps in between. So taking the first section of hair, it's going to be about 1 centimetre in diameter, and it's going to be a nice rounded shape, so there's no tension taken from either side or top or bottom. Taking the looper tool with your finger and thumb through, we're going to pull the natural hair through. We're then going to take the first ring to push up to then pull through the natural hair. We're then going to clamp that micro ring shut and close to the scalp. We're then going to carry on building up this track as we go by selecting the next piece of hair directly next door, feeding the natural hair through the looper, pulling the micro ring up towards the scalp, making sure there's a 0-degree angle and the micro ring is lying flat against the scalp. You need to be aware that enough hair is being pulled through the micro ring, so there should be some tension, a pull as it pulls through, so you know you're filling enough hair into the micro ring. We're finishing our last one, which will then end our row within our fitting area, not going into our red zone. And then our track is complete, ready to sew our weft in place. Taking our already cut and measured doubled weft, we then want to take our threaded needle, which has been doubled with thread and knotted at the bottom, and then sew into the doubled over end. You want to sew in a couple of times just to anchor in place and ready to then sew onto the head. Now your weft is ready to sew into your first micro ring bead. Place the weft and secure on the end you're not sewing into to keep it nice and still, ready and available to start sewing in to create our blanket stitch as we work across the weft. Using your needle, it's going to now go under the stitching, not through the stitching. Through the hair, under the stitching, to the back of the micro ring, not through the micro ring. And at this point we're now going to pull through, and the most important part is to now take your needle and go through the loop of the weave thread to then create our blanket stitch. There should then be a very obvious stitching that's running across the stitching of your weft. To go on to the next one, you're going to see this take place, so behind the micro ring, pulling up and then through the loop available in the thread to then pull tight against the scalp. It will then take you into a blanket stitch across the top. This process will happen.